What's up, the Generation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by Draftkings. This is the college football betting preview part 3. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host Collin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. Got a lot to get to today. This will be the biggest episode of bowl season in terms of number of games that we cover. We have 12 bowls. We're covering everything on next Friday and Saturday after Christmas. If you missed part 2 for some of the weekday bowls before then, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, including my favorite, the Holiday Bowl and Christmas Eve, make sure you check out part 2. Also, make sure you check out @Playbook on Twitter. New action bot. Just follow @Playbook. Really easy. Automate your bet slips. And before we really get started, I'll throw it to myself for a quick word from DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is sponsored by DraftKings, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and still have the shot to win cash prizes. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BBOC when signing up and bet $5 to get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right. So, good. I guess I should update everyone on the schedule. December 26th will be part 4. So that'll come out that night. We will cover the next group. When's the college football playoff?
It'll be Christmas Eve. It'll be Ohio State.
It can't
Miami.
be Christmas Eve.
No, I'm sorry. New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Okay.
Ohio State and Miami. And shout out to everybody. If you're in Los Angeles, I'll be at Cosm watching that if you want to stop by and say hi. And then you get the other 3, the Rose, the Orange, and the Sugar
On New Year's Day.
On New Year's Day.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know if the split between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for those. We'll have part 4 on Friday. We'll have a live show next Saturday, and then we'll have part 5 we'll record on Monday, and then part 6 will be the semifinals. Part 7 will be our finale show, voicemail caller of the year, gambling, Heisman, national championship preview, etc. Excellent work all around from the podcast and the live show yesterday. We almost swept. We almost hit our parlay. Mario tried to Mario, and they didn't go down at the 1, of course, because I had A&M. I had some A&M live plus 5.5, and that was the only chance A&M had. And but luckily for you, Breeze, they did score because you had the anytime touchdown, so we were conflicted there.
Yeah, rewinding earlier in that game, I brought up the punt return unit from A&M. I'm like, if I lose this because of that shoestring tackle on Tony, it's just absolute misery. Any game involving A&M with anytime touchdowns. I don't know if you remember back to the Notre Dame game. I had KC Concepcion. I think he dropped 2 balls in the end zone. They scored a bajillion points on Notre Dame. Couldn't find the end zone. So I was thrilled. I was just as happy as Michael Irvin, just going belt to ass on that A&M jersey on a trash can. Like, talk about a great secondary mascot. Michael Irvin, just a total freaking maniac on the sideline for the Canes.
So, quick recap of the games yesterday. Miami wins an ugly one, 10-3 over A&M. They got a late score. A&M got down to the goal line, couldn't punch it in. Reed threw a pick. Reed was pretty bad. I mean, Beck only threw for 100 yards, 20 attempts for 100 yards. Mark Fletcher was the story of the day. We talked about how Miami hasn't been explosive on the ground. A&M's vulnerable there. Who won that battle? It was Miami and Mark Fletcher, who went for 172 on 17 carries.
Two of 12 offensive possessions were explosive, which is a huge increase for Miami because they are non-explosive offense.
And Fletcher, who will look to keep it going, he was once committed to Ohio State. Now he'll face Ohio State next week. Tulane, Ole Miss, just belt to ass, start to finish. We got that one right. Ole Miss destroys. Got a little worried when what's his name? When
Trinidad
and Lacey went down, because Simmons is a turnover machine. But Trinidad came back, and Retzlaff was, he had threw for 300, but it was sloppy and bad. So that was just a destruction. And then JMU, I'm the most optimistic bettor. I'm always like, there's always a chance. Like things like what the Bears did last night could always happen. Uh, I turned the JMU screen off. I had the NFL game on. I turned my screens to college basketball. So it was 48-13. I turned it off. And Oregon was at like the 10-yard line. So they were down 35. They were about to go down 42. And I turned it off. Now, I ended up watching the end because I have my phone. But that's how I thought it was over. But then there was the pick, which I missed. I missed that pick. So anyone who had JMU could thank me because I turned it off, and that turned the tides. JMU with an amazing back door. I mean, I was surprised Oregon was still throwing with more as late as they did, but JMU had an 89-yard touchdown drive and a 99-yard touchdown drive, including a 4th-and-goal run for Collin to get his Barnett anytime touchdown in the last play. And yeah, I mean, that was one where I won a bet. Couldn't have been more wrong on my handicap. I thought the JMU defense would be the unit that gets them the cover and holds Oregon down, but it was the offense that put up over 500 yards and got in the back door in a game that had 85 total points, almost doubling the closing total.
So let me say this, Stuck. For the hundreds of people that had the bet, because I know you did, because you guys automatically added it in the app, and I know that Calabrese wrote about it. I wrote about it. For those of us that had Barnett anytime touchdown and the JMU cover, that was the most electric touchdown I've ever seen in my life. But let me say this about the box score. I mean, there are signals. Like, first off, Oregon 9.7 yards per play.
They're averaging like 17 yards per play at one point in the first half.
Absolutely insane from an offensive standpoint, considering what they don't have outside. I mean, Benson went absolutely crazy, but now they're going to get their full boat back. But from a defensive side, James Madison, 6.1 yards per play, couple of explosive drives, a methodical drive, beat Oregon in finishing drives. That's points per attempt at past the 40-yard line. Oregon lived on explosives. They didn't create a single methodical, and half of their 13 drives, 6 of them were explosive. That means they averaged 10-plus yards per play. Is that doable against Texas Tech? This is a completely different defensive line they're about to go up against. I'm worried about James Madison averaging 6 yards per play against Oregon's defense.
Calabrese, any thoughts on the day?
Bob Chesney doesn't get blown out. I said it coming in. The games against FCS power teams, against Power 4 teams and paycheck opportunities. He's now 6-1 against the spread. And you saw it in the aggressiveness. Like late in the game, it would have been totally reasonable to put up the white flag, to stop pushing it. He's throwing out trick plays, wide receiver passes. Like, I just love when I have a coach that cares to the final whistle. As Duck was saying show here, it's a 60-minute game. It's not a 55-minute game. So I'm going to have no apologies for getting in the back door there. I thought there was an opportunity. It's the reason why I wanted to buy that 21.5, that point there. When they went for 2 and didn't get it, I was like, if I'm going to lose on this one, I'm going to be absolutely sick. But yeah, just incredible that they fought all the way. I think this is... Unfortunately, the narrative is already that, well, Tulane got blown out and James Madison was getting blown out. So, like, we have to get rid of G5 football. I think that's where it's headed in the future for the Super League.
Yeah, it's over. Last night cooked the G5.
It's disgusting. I'm not going to like it, but I think it's just it was a huge domino to fall. It's exactly what they needed. In the same way where it's like the LSU Alabama rematch in 2011 was the thing that finally broke the camel's back in terms of the college football playoff. I think this is going to be something that's going to hasten the Super League, which there's already VC money circling like sharks to try to make it happen, but I appreciate JMU for still getting us to the window there, and the same thing with the Tulane game. It was great to nail the cap across all 4 of us on the live show.
Good teams win, great teams cover. Oregon is not a great team. Duck, you also nailed your FCS. Great work.
Yeah, peppered in there with the 3 playoff games was 2 rocking chair FCS winners there with Montana State going over, and then Villanova, Illinois State staying under. I was really happy with how these games played out and kind of what we said. You can't get any more sweat-free on the first half under with Miami and Texas A&M than 0-0 going to half. It wasn't a lazy cap, but it was something we all kind of said with Tulane, Ole Miss, how we kind of saw that.
It was almost the same exact score.
Yeah, and same situation. Tulane scores at the end when the game's already decided. Team total under was a good play, and laying it with Ole Miss was just kind of what we all thought we should do there. Nice to see James Madison get home. Yeah, it was a fun day yesterday.
Duck, real quick, could you give me a comp? What would Illinois State winning the FCS title be like at the FBS level?
This
If you had,
isn't
like,
least
pick a
this isn't
team.
Leicester City, is it?
I would say that this would probably be the equivalent of an 11 seed winning the NCAA tournament,
Hmm.
is what that would be. So if you think about an 11 seed, a fringe,
A George Mason.
mid-major, a
Butler?
George Mason type, yeah, Butler type, it would be about that equivalent. It would be it would be about an 11 seed winning the NCAA tournament.
It's to their advantage though that this is going to be played in Frisco, right? Not
Or
up.
Nashville.
Nashville.
Nashville. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Let's remind everybody.
Frisco's
that
for the
it's not-
Frisco and Xbox Bowls now. Get it right.
right. But no, I mean,
Yeah,
actually
shorter
is to their
trip for
advantage.
Illinois State.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll have some time to rest. They had such an emotional last 4 games going to Southeastern Louisiana, upsetting North Dakota State, defeating Cal Davis, and then having to go to Philly. They've been all over the map. The only team to make it this far on 4 true road games. I mean, it's been pretty intense. So some time off will help them. Should be a fun bout though in Nashville with Montana State and Illinois State.
There was a guy, I'm rooting for Illinois State to win it all because there was this guy, he like tweeted out, he covers their basketball team on Twitter. I gotta find this, but he was like, before the North Dakota State game, when they were like 24.5 point dogs, he was like, this is why all the money that Illinois State invests in football should go to the basketball. And he's been getting a lot of shit for it. So it'd be funny if they won a national championship. Anyway, let's get to the bowls. Oh, by the way, before we get to the bowls, Duck, you got a special shout out to a loyal listener.
Yeah, listener Jack Avery reached out to me a week ago. He sent me a little Old Dominion merch, which I'm wearing proudly today. He just talked to me about how we discussed Old Dominion on the podcast. I had talked to him a little bit this season about ODU. He's a big ODU supporter. And so I wanted to thank him for sending me this merch. Go give him a follow on Twitter at JAveryTop5. Had a lot of high praise for the show. So thanks, Jack, for the high praise on our show and for the sweet merch.
Shout out to my good friend Tyler too, who works for ODU, who's just visiting the other weekend. All right, let's get to the bowls. Let's start Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Ford Field in Detroit. Well, by the way, Tyler, we're also, what's his Twitter name?
JAveryTop5.
And we'll send you some merch, by the way. All right, let's get to the bowls. Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Ford Field, Central Michigan, Northwestern. Northwestern right now, 11.5 point favorite, total 43.5. In the game above Sports Bowl. I hate this name, by the way, because it just sounds like someone's like, go sports.
Does anybody like this bowl being right after Christmas in the morning? Like nobody likes this bowl.
Central Michigan should have maybe had some fans here. I don't know. It's not too far. A couple quick notes here. I don't think anyone's going to opt out for Central Michigan. If they did, it would be Michael Heldman, their excellent defensive end. Central Michigan will get their quarterback back, Angel Flores, which is pretty important. He would miss the last month and a half with an injury. They averaged almost 2 yards per carry with him, almost over 100 yards per game more with him. So he's their backup quarterback, but they would use him in a lot of running packages. That's what Central Michigan wants to do. They averaged 201 with him, 102 without him, 4.4 yards per carry with him, 2.7 without him. Big strength of schedule disparity here. 36 for Northwestern, 128 for Central Michigan. Northwestern, by design, doesn't allow a lot of explosives. That's kind of important here because Central Michigan wants to like run, then get creative and create an explosive. Might be difficult to do here. Northwestern also has been very good against the quarterback run game for what it's worth. These are also 2 bottom 7 pace teams, so the pace here will not be good, will not be fast. My first look is Central Michigan with the points. I mean, it's a running dog with a low total. I think Flores gives them some more versatility. I trust Dingle to just scheme up some more exotic run packages here. The one thing I do worry about is Central Michigan's pass defense. Good numbers on the surface, but I mean, look at who they played. So does Preston Stone and company and their receivers, do they end up just throwing all over Central Michigan? Because, I mean, the passing offense that Central Michigan played since giving up, 66 to Michigan, have been impoverished, to say the least. Northwestern, I think, pretty clean from an opt-out perspective. Maybe their left tackle, which would be big against if Hellman plays, but Caleb Tiernan, he's a pro. Their defensive end, Anto Saka, I don't know. I would expect them to play, but those are on the watch list. Komalafe and Hyman, David Brown said they should be back. They're two backs, which is important because they lost Cam Porter earlier in the season. Hubbard, unsure about their other defensive end who was hurt in week 12. So my first look, just take the points, running dog. Colin, actually, let me throw it to you since you agree here. You think the chips are the look?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this is obviously not the game in Detroit that Central Michigan wanted to be playing, but to get in this environment, they're close to home, should have some fan constituents. And I would imagine that for this program and with where they've been the last couple of years, Matt Drinkall, the high energy guy, they're going to show up and be ready to go here. Couple key elements, like you had mentioned, the running backs for Northwestern. Are they going to show up? Are they not? Drew Wagner, he's not their best receiver. That would be Griffin Wilde, but Wagner did take some of the pressure and the focus off of Wilde. If he doesn't go, that allows CMU to at least key in on Griffin Wilde a little bit more, maybe pin down that pass game a little bit more than what they otherwise would have. Northwestern, 91st in red zone efficiency and struggled all season to create havoc, so there's a chance that Central Michigan is able to just methodically move the ball down the field and maybe not find themselves behind the chains. It's
because they get behind the chains is going to be trouble for their tackles in particular against Northwestern's DNs, but they got to find a way to stay ahead of the chains.
It would be trouble. And, you said the quarterback coming back would be absolutely huge because, we talk all the time about football being played and a lot of it's 12 personnel. Central Michigan goes 13 personnel, not as common, but they want big on big. They want to use tight ends. And if you get the running quarterback in there, they're a lot more effective. Should be a game where Central Michigan's running backs have some moderate success, I would think, with Biggins and Trey Cornist. I think they do enough here to keep this one within the number. Slow burning grinder. Both these teams are bottom 5 in tempo. This is going to be all 40 seconds of the play clock exhausted. This might be 58 to 62 total plays on each offense. This is going to be a slow burning grinder, but I think Central Michigan can do enough to stay within double digits here. So yeah, I like the chips.
It is worth it. It is indoors, so that's the only thing that's working against the under here. Calabrese, you like Northwestern to get it done in the under, combining the two?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the money line and under. It pays out about plus 140 over at DraftKings. I mean, in a sea of opt-outs during bowl season, at least we know that Northwestern cares about their bowl games. They're going to be locked in. They're going to have almost a full deck. They're 6-1 straight up in their last 7 bowl games dating back to 2012. It's just one of those programs that understands who they are and who they're not. They're never going to be, a top 10 team competing for a college football playoff, but that doesn't mean that they have a mutiny on their hands every December. You mentioned Hyman coming back. He is critical because he not only gives you pop in the run game, averaging just about 5 yards per carry, but he can also do, some things in the kick return game as well. And they were just a reliable favorite this year. They went 5-0 straight up as a favorite, 3-1-1 against the spread there. I think this number is a little too high. My numbers call for it to be about 8. So I don't want to get into a situation where I can get backdoored, in a low scoring game. And everything that Duck said is true. I just think that this game gets shrunk down because of the pace and because of the lack of explosiveness. The Chips 110th in offensive big play rate, Northwestern 97th. And the quarterback situation, I think Flores does give them pop. But if it's, their other pocket passer in there, he takes way too many sacks. 2 separate games, Labus was sacked 4 times this year. Northwestern, as you mentioned, they have enough on the edge to be able to heat him up a little bit.
Yeah, if it's Labus all day, he's going to be sacked 7 times.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a mix between the two of them, but if they get in known passing situations, he's going to be the option there. He's going to be under fire. And the last piece of it, I've seen enough Northwestern games this year to know that they are comfortable playing in rock fights. They beat Minnesota by 3, UCLA by 3, Penn State by 1, and the Chips played 3 MAC games with totals, coming in at 37 or less. So I think this just stays to who these teams are. You mentioned, it being indoor playing against the under a bit. Sometimes it can go the other way if there's slick conditions or snover or some wind where you get a pick 6. I just think these teams don't have the kind of explosive playmakers that the fast track really makes that much of a difference. So I'll go under and Northwestern money line at about plus 140.
Colin, any thoughts here?
Look, I like Northwestern too, but I love the first half under. And I think ever since the St. Pete Bitcoin Bowl was going on at 11 a.m. the day after Christmas, I've always thought, who the hell wants to show up and play, especially the first quarters of these games? But more importantly, I think these teams are conducive to an under. I project this game at 41. So at 43 and a half, I think there's meat on the bone to get underneath that under, but I like the first half under a little bit better. Northwestern, the reason I like Northwestern, it's a big spread for such a low total, and I know that that makes you gravitate towards the points. But at the same time, there's two things in the advanced numbers that really have me leaning towards Northwestern, which is one, a huge special teams advantage. Northwestern 15th in special team, SP plus special teams, Central Michigan at 87. Those have played such a huge factor in bowl games so far. And then the penalties. There's a monster penalty discrepancy here. Northwestern ninth in penalties. That's great. I mean, Central Michigan more towards back the middle of the pack in FBS. So I think those are two advantages that Northwestern have here. Northwestern's defense above mid FBS average when it comes to defending Central Michigan's run concepts of power inside zone. They use a lot of man gap blocking with their offensive line. Central Michigan's also outside the top 70 in making a quality drive, also in defensive and offensive finishing drives, which means even if they do methodically get it down, because they're not creating explosives, but if they do, they have a hard time getting points up on the board. And then running back Caleb Komalafe, 10 TDs, Joseph Hyman, 3.7 yards after first contact. They combined for 17 explosives on the season for Northwestern. I think that's where Northwestern can actually have a little bit of success here, methodically moving the ball, getting points on the board. But I think it's going to be slow. Both these teams, 30.6 seconds per play, 31.1 seconds per play. I think it's special teams that actually make the scores. But like I said, I project at 41. There's still meat on the bone for the under. I'm going to take the first half under.
All right, let's move on to the Rate Bowl, Friday, 4:30 Eastern in Phoenix. It's just in Phoenix this summer. The airport made me go like 17 miles to get my rental car. New Mexico taking on Minnesota.
They have a rail now. They finally got rid of buses.
It was like so far away.
Yeah, I mean, you have to walk a mile, then you have to find the elevator that gets to the rail.
Yeah.
Like Harbor, like it used.
And then they had a car shortage. They had a rental car shortage. Even though I have like status at the rental, they were like,
yeah,
we had to give it away. We had to wait an hour and a half. It was insane.
PSA notice for everybody out there: when you go to Hertz or National Rental Car and you actually reserve a car, you're not reserving a car. What you're doing is telling them that you're forecasting it. They don't actually reserve a car. They're just trying to get their stock up for it. And there might not be a car there for you. Get it worked out, rental cars.
Yeah. What was that? Was the Seinfeld pilot? Anybody can take a reservation. You can just take them, but to hold a reservation, that's the key.
Yeah, there was this lady next to me who said this happens all the time in Phoenix too. So, all right, but we have a bowl game in Phoenix. New Mexico, Minnesota. Minnesota, 2.5-point favorite here, total 44.5. I love the Lobos. Got to go against Fleck, who's 6-0 in bowl games. He's been very good, which is a bit scary. His team will be motivated. I guess I'll knock out some news here. I think New Mexico should be healthier. They'll probably get a couple defenders back. Potential opt-outs, maybe Keyshawn James Newby, their defensive end, who's a stud. I think he's going to get some power 4 looks. That would be a big loss. I hope that he plays, but that's one I could see being a surprise. Minnesota, Ichaboy, their backup running back with about 500 yards. He's in the portal. They're going to be pretty shorthanded at wide receiver, which is important because that's how you attack New Mexico. Brockington is an NFL guy. He declared. I assume he's out. Coleman, Lanier, some of their depth guys are out. So they're going to be pretty shorthanded at wide receiver. A couple defenders for Minnesota maybe opting out, or their defensive tackle, Devin Eastern, defensive end, Anthony Smith. And then Darius Taylor. Does he play? Does he not? I don't know. So I like New Mexico here, and I think they'll care. I think Eck will have some good stuff drawn up. This Laubstein that they've been using, their running quarterback, has added, like in the second half of the year, has added another dimension and element to their offense, especially in like short yardage that keeps drives going. I think that's important. And I think the wide receivers for Minnesota, them being shorthanded there is important because that is how you attack New Mexico, is through the air. And this isn't like what you would say is, okay, Minnesota's a Big Ten team. New Mexico, Mountain West team, that's what you would worry about, caliber of athletes. But this Minnesota team, easily, this isn't your typical 7-5 Big Ten team. They easily could have been 4-8. I mean, they were outgained 462 to 250 by Purdue, trailed in the fourth, should have lost that game. They play that game 100 times, they lose at 99. Purdue at home. They got outgained 390 to 350 at home to Rutgers in a game that Rutgers fumbles a field goal. They should have lost that game. They were outgained 268 to 210 by Wisconsin at home in a win. And they were outgained 470 to 300 to Michigan State in a game the officials just robbed from Michigan State in overtime. They were at one point they were getting outgained 300 to 57 in the second half. This easily could have been a 4-8 or 5-7 team. There's holes on this roster. I like the Lobos. This is a Jason Eck podcast. Colin, you agree?
Oh, it's always been a Jason Eck podcast. The guy's doing amazing with what he has there, and consider who left the program and moved on. You didn't think the Lobos would be worth anything this year, and this job that I'm surprised Jason Eck is still there after 1 year. I can't believe he hasn't been picked up and he's head coaching, but I will keep in mind the New York Giants like Marcus Freeman, and keep in mind that Michigan job still needs to be filled. I don't think the dominoes are done. But anyways, I do like New Mexico here. Heavy rush rate ratio. You mentioned James Lobstein and DJ McKinney. These guys are running inside zone, heavy zone read, lots of running, lots of inside zone. Lobstein 3.9 yards after first contact. New Mexico should methodically move the ball down. They are 10th in offensive stuff rate, 30th in offensive line yards from a G5 team in the Mountain West. Minnesota's defense is 44% success rate against outside zone, not even as good against inside zone. Opt-outs by their defensive tackle, by their defensive ends, Anthony Smith and Devin Eastern. That helps New Mexico. They have an advantage on defense with a pass rush and finishing drives. Listen, I am going to be on this train for bowl season until we get to the big boys, until we get to the quarterfinals. Who's winning special teams here? These numbers are insane. New Mexico, 16th in special teams SP+. Minnesota, 123rd. New Mexico, upset, outright.
I love New Mexico special teams too. By the way, Smith and Eastern have not opted out yet. Fleck, who might go to, you were hinting, maybe he takes the Michigan job.
Yeah.
Minnesota super tight to the vest under Fleck with injuries, opt-outs. You won't know until the game starts who's out. Duck, two slow-paced teams again here. You like the under?
Yeah, a lot of running, slow-paced teams. Minnesota really struggles garnering explosive plays. And I think the difference will be New Mexico's attitude that they play with on defense. Last year under Bronco, we saw this defense just get shredded up and down the field. Every game they played, they had to win these 48-42 shootouts. Eck has instilled such an attitude and a defense in the front seven, and we've seen this team punch up really well. Really impressive games already against Michigan in the opener where they were 38-point dogs. They lose by 17, going and beating UCLA on the road. Every time they played up this year, they played really inspiring football. I think that they run the ball here. I think the defense wins out. I like New Mexico to win this game. I like the under at 44.5.
You know where that mentality on defense, who that starts with? Eck. Jackson.
Yeah. Jackson Eck.
Great linebacker. Mike, you agree? G5
Yeah,
on the under?
Yeah, I'm also on the under here. New Mexico got more and more comfortable down the stretch playing in low-scoring games. Last 3 games in regulation, their games averaged 31 total points. And a big part of that was Jack Lane finally stopped turning the ball over. This team was very sloppy in the first 6 weeks of the season with turnovers. They still finished the year in the bottom 15 in terms of giveaways in the whole country. But down the stretch, last 6 games, just 1 pick, more Lobstein in the quarterback run game as well. And that's the thing that can kill, obviously, a low total under, which is those explosive non-offensive touchdowns, setting somebody up, perfectly with a short field to be able to score. If there's fewer than, let's call it 4 turnovers in this game, I think the under is going to cash. And the last piece of it is, I agree, Fleck keeps everything so close to the vest. Is Darius Taylor going to play? How many of his defenders are going to give it a go? Because this defense could potentially give New Mexico, or at least force New Mexico to put together methodical drives. I know that they were a little bit better in terms of explosive plays, ranking 67th in the country, but they're not necessarily a highly explosive team. And when you look at, Fleck in all these bowl games, in all the wins he's had for Minnesota, they've averaged just 15 points per game allowed there. So usually he wants to win in a rock fight. He puts in all the work on the defensive side. I think that'll play out with a low-scoring New Mexico win, or maybe Minnesota ekes it out. But either way, under 44.5.
All right, good stuff there. By the way, if you're in, I love Sedona, by the way. If you ever go to Sedona, tweet me. I'll have some good recs there. In Flagstaff, Martins for a brunch. All right, let's move on to the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern in Dallas between FIU and UTSA. This line has come down. FIU now like a 6.5 point dog, total sitting around 59.5, 60. You can probably throw out like a lot of the analytical breakdown here because this game is all about the news. FIU, they have Mr. Clark, who plays in like the slot, really good player. He hit the portal. I think he led their defense in snaps. Their starting corner, Victor Evans, hit the portal. Starting free safety, Josiah McGrew, hit the portal. None of them will play. And Brian Blades, who I think is a future pro, he could opt out. They're going to be significantly shorthanded in the secondary. Their right tackle also hit the portal. So you're going to have, and the one game they didn't have their guys in the secondary, they gave up, I think, 59 to Delaware. That's a major concern. Additionally, both of their quarterbacks are dealing with injuries. Pasansky, who started a few games when Jenkins was hurt, has a foot injury. Jenkins has a groin injury. As of 2 days ago, Willie Simmons said that it would be Clayton Dees who would start, but he says he thinks both, like if the game was played 2 days ago, it would have been Clayton Dees starting, but he thinks both should be ready by the bowl. But Dees is running with the ones. Throw that in there as another wrinkle. UTSA, meanwhile, their starting nose tackle, a Tutu, hit the portal. Their starting corner, Meyer. Their other starting corner, Martin. Their starting D-end, Ozawalu, who's a stud. He's going P4. One of their other defensive ends, Wimberly. And it sounds like more names are coming. Traylor said his team's going to be a shell of themselves. Their offense hasn't been hit yet, but that's what I'm worried about. He says he thinks they're going to be without 20-plus players due to a mix of opt-outs, injuries, and transfer portal entries. I think they're going to be, at the end of the day, 7 starters on defense are going to be out. That's what I project. I don't know on the offensive side, but I worry that McCown's going to be out. If McCown and the offense is together, this is a dead shot over because FIU doesn't have anyone in the secondary, and UTSA's defense, which isn't great anyway, is going to be a shell of itself. But there's a lot of news to kind of filter through here. And like the FIU, I like some of their past defense metrics, but like throw them out. Their whole secondary's out. So this one's a tough nut to crack. Throw in all the variants. I think FIU will care here. This is a team that's not in bowls annually. It doesn't sound like UTSA's or Traylor's super happy about playing in this bowl despite being in Texas. So I think FIU money line, FIU team total over, worth a look. Duck, what are you seeing here?
Similar, real concerning for FIU that the secondary pieces are out. So if UTSA offensively is fully equipped, they could have a lot of success. FIU also 134th in surrendering explosive rushes on defense and 105th in rush play success rate. FIU could get shredded on the ground by UTSA here. The big problem is who's going to show up for UTSA on defense, and they could really struggle with Keon Jenkins' mobility. Could be a dead nut over, could be back and forth. We already heard Traylor say in the pressers that he's real concerned about the participation. The other problem is the home road splits for UTSA were really staggering this year. When they were not in the Alamo Dome, they were absolute garbage. Everything just looked off. Special teams was bad. They were missing field goals. Offense wasn't clicking. So I think if you're going to play this one, we talked about this before, 34 times over the last 2 years, an underdog has won these bowl games outright. So if you like FIU, I think it's worth a shot here, taking them on the money line. But both these teams should be in the 30s or higher. This could be one of those where you just never get the defensive stops. It's score traded, score traded, score traded. It just keeps going because we're not going to have any defensive personnel. Big losses for FIU in the secondary.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about with UTSA is like if McCown opts out, or if they just don't care. Like, and then sometimes you see these teams, we've already seen it, and then they end up scoring like 3 points on the day. But as you said, the FIU weakness is their run D. So UTSA should be able to run on them regardless. Calabrese, what are you seeing here?
Well, just real quick on the McCown thing, if it's not him, it's going to be Brandon Tennyson, who, is a smaller player, but he played at Gilmer, which was a major program in the state of Texas. He made the all Whataburger team. I mean, who doesn't love a Whataburger? So you put that out there. He's a dual threat. He is a problem. And when you look at it, he had a little bit of experience in mop-up duty against South Florida. Otherwise, he's a mystery box. Against an FIU defense with no starters in their secondary, like I still think this would pop if you got either Henderson or Henry in the backfield. So you can't lose all of them. But if you get 2, certainly if you get 3, I think UTSA could score north of 40 in this game. And then on the offensive side, for FIU, I think it'll probably be a mix. I think Shotgun Simmons was kind of cagey with it. I think he'll end up playing both guys. Pizanski, by the way, coming in from Holy Cross, he's a fine QB too. He's certainly good enough against a completely underwhelming UTSA defense that has all new pieces. Like they were already the greenest defense in the American coming in, and now to play a game here without 7 or 8 starters, it's like a pickup basketball game. Like you guys want to run, hey, tall guy, go play, edge rusher. Let's see if we can put this together. What's your name? Like it's going to be a bad situation for the Roadrunners. And Pizanski is someone who could both use his legs, but also he was more of a risk taker than Keywan Jenkins. He had an A north of 11 in his start, so I could see him pushing the ball downfield. I think either of these teams, if they have their quarterback in place, could score north of 40. So I got to go over 59.5 here.
Look,
Colin, you also like FIU. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I love FIU. So I echo everything that's been said. So let me just throw a couple things in here. When a coach like Traylor talks the way that he does about the state of college football and missing 10 to 20 players, and he doesn't know which ones it's going to be, you have to listen to that in a bowl game because his attitude going into this may not be as motivated as it has been in the past. I think Jeff Traylor is an amazing coach. I cannot believe he hasn't been scooped up by Power 4. And I wonder if his assessment of sitting in San Antonio for all this long is like, why even fight it anymore? I should just move on and take my skills elsewhere and get paid more.
Or he's looking to just next year. Like, why why waste time prepping for this bowl where I can look, recruiting and the portal and all that.
How many? And he's not one of these teams, but like think of like North Texas, which I think we're going to cover, where like the new coach is already there and he's going to dictate who's on that field. Well, that's what Traylor's going to do. He wants to get an early start on spring practice here. Now, all things said, the difference maker in this game for me is Keywan Jenkins because Florida International is 6th in the nation in rush explosives. And UTSA, even if they had their full boat of defense, 125th in defensive finishing drives and 117th in tackling. The tackling has not been good for the Roadrunners the entire season. I got involved betting them a couple weeks in a row, and it's just a disaster from a tackling perspective. Broken tackles allowed, also 117th in the nation. Shad Banks is really there's 2 players that I'm looking for everybody before I stick this in. I want to know that Keywan Jenkins is healthy from his groin, which I think he will be, and I think he'll start, and I think he'll be amazing. But Shad Banks, a linebacker for UTSA, pending right now, leads the team for UTSA in tackles. If he's not there, that's a huge loss. It's not going to help any of the numbers that I just mentioned before. And Kenny Ozuwalu opted out. I mean, the edge, he leads the team in pressures.
He's going to play Power 4.
This UTSA defense is nothing if Shad Banks isn't there. I'm waiting on that. I think FIU has heavy explosives that get them to the window here.
All right, that's by the way, I've never had Whataburger.
The spicy ketchup really differentiates it. There's lots of little things, but the spicy ketchup is elite there at Whataburger.
Like, where does it similar to like In-N-Out? Is it just the Texas In-N-Out?
No.
Yeah, I would say
bigger,
it's
greasier.
Yeah, it's a little bit closer to like a Wendy's, I guess, in terms of its menu offering. Like Whataburger is like we got a simple menu, even with the secret menu bullshit. But like Whataburger has like from breakfast all the way through like late night. So I think that's like the closest comp.
Whataburger is fantastic. I just saw our producer hop in and say it's better than In-N-Out, and that is sacrilegious. And David, you can take your ass to church.
Their fries are probably better.
Oh yeah,
In-N-Out's fries are.
Anyone's fries are better than In-N-Out. But
what about like is the Whataburger burger like similar to like Five Guys then?
No, so they do like patty melts too. They do, and they all have like a rotating menu. They're always like messing with jalapeno stuff. So it's like you get a lot of variety. But I still think it's closer to like a Wendy's burger or maybe trying to think what else. Have you ever had P. Terry's in Texas? Like that's a comp as well.
Colin got muted for saying In-N-Out was better by our producer.
That's good. All
right, let's move on to the Go Bowling Military Bowl Saturday, 11 a.m. in Annapolis between East Carolina and Pitt.
Oof.
This is the I think this is the GoBowling.com bowl, right? And every year I go and I'm like, why is this like go on your phone and go to gobowling.com. It's like the worst website of all time, and that's who sponsors this bowl. It's like it's a site where like you can find where bowling alleys are.
Yeah, but like this website is just like pro bowling, like the avocados commercial where it's like just the Avocado Growers Association, buy more of those. Just get to your local bowling alley.
Like who is
but you can just Google bowling alley near me. I don't. It's not like 2001 where I got
like this. How do
I
they
gotta
have a
talk to
bowl?
someone from this site. It sounds like this is like a Ponzi scheme or something. All right, it's got to be a front for
Oh, this
something.
is like a Walter White washing money kind of thing.
Yeah,
We'll just buy a bowl.
gobowling.com. And anyway, someone who knows anything about this, let me know. Anyway, East Carolina, Pitt. Pitt's taking money out to a 9.5 point favorite. Totals dropped 57-ish, which I think makes sense because East Carolina's going to be without their stud quarterback, Caden Hauser. He will not play in this bowl, nor will Yannick Smith, one of their better receivers, and their tight end, Javante Connor. Pitt will be without Desmond Reed, who opted out, and their stud linebacker, Kyle Lewis, declaring for the NFL draft. They have Pitt, maybe a couple other potential opt-outs, but not many. Maybe Anthony Smith for ECU, but I think he should play. ECU also coordinator changes. Their defensive coordinator, Josh Aldridge, left for the same role at UCF, or USF, excuse me. And their offensive coordinator, John David Baker, is headed to Ole Miss, which complicates things because John David Baker runs a very specific type of offense. Air raid, want to throw it, tempo. By the way, this is a tempo. We talked about slow pacing. This is a tempo bowl. But without Hauser, do they run the same offense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because it's either going to be freshman Chaston Ditta. He's more of a passer, so he's like a better fit for the offense that they run. But I think it's probably Mike Wright that starts. I mean, Mike Wright, he's like a runner. He's been all over them. I mean, this guy's been on every. I still can't believe
Has
he's
he
still
been in
around.
college football longer than Pavia?
He was at Vandy, but he played defense this year. He had the game-sealing interception in one game. He played special teams, defense. Not the most efficient passer in the world. So like he is not the fit for this Hauser offense. I mean, he was at Vandy for 3 years. He was at Mississippi State. He was at Northwestern, and now he's at ECU. The way to attack this Pitt defense, we talk about it all the time. They play quarters, aggressive on the outside. You got to hit past explosives. Well, that would have been good for ECU if Hauser and all their weapons played, but with Mike Wright, probably not. You want to, and then against ECU, you want to hit rush explosives against them. That's not really Pitt's game, especially without Desmond Reed. So I do think, even though the pace is going to suck to bet the under, although ECU maybe goes slower, but I do think the under makes a lot of sense based on who's playing and some of the other questions. That's what you like, Colin, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with the under here. I mean, look, there's just not a lot of motivation with ECU. I mean, they just played in this bowl last year. So they've obviously found bowling alleys. And Pitt was just waxed by Miami and missed the ACC championship game and potentially a spot at the playoff. Like who wants to be in this game? I mean, Caden Hauser not going to play. ECU's quarterbacks outside of him, 15 total passing attempts across 3 players. ECU's also missing both their coordinators. I mean, the steam on Pitt is real and it's deserved. But the Pitt offense, I mean, they're not going to be able to establish a run against ECUD, and that they were top 10 in line yards, defensive rush, success rate. Even if ECU is missing some of those players off that defense, which we'll see as we get closer. This is an under game to me all the way because ECU is absolutely lost. They've already been in this bowl. Pitt didn't even get any expectations that Narduzzi was talking about before he got blown out by Notre Dame. I don't think they want to be in this bowl either. You have to keep this in mind because Narduzzi was the one that bitched about this the most. There's a pecking order in the ACC. So in the ACC with the bowls, it's not like I got 7 wins, I got 8 wins, I got 9 wins. I go to this bowl. What happens is all of the bowls that have ties to the ACC, they put them in a freaking hat and they just pull names out of the hat, and every team wants to go to Pinstripe. Every team wants to go warm weather or Pinstripe. They don't want to go to the Military Bowl, and they don't want to go to the Quick Lane Bowl. And when they get there, they lay eggs. And Pitt's one of those teams, and Narduzzi's talked about it. So under all the way.
I wonder if Narduzzi will kick a field goal from the 1 with a chance to win the game again. All right, let's move on to the. I know Calabrese, you're passing on that game. Duck, you just said you'll know who wants to be there right away.
Yeah, maybe a live betting opportunity. You should know in the first 2 drives who shows up and who doesn't. Big injuries and opt-outs on either side, so hard for me to get involved pre-flop.
Well, it's hard for you to get involved pre-flop in that game. It's going to be hard for you to get involved pre-flop in this game because I'm finding it difficult to get involved in Clemson, Penn State in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, Saturday, noon Eastern.
You can't even list them all off. You might as well just say everybody's gone.
In the Bronx. Yeah, I mean, Penn State, their big opt-outs, their stud running back Singleton, their defensive tackle Zane Durant, their safety Wheatley, Ione, their left guard. Dennis Sutton, I assume, would sit out. They have a bunch of other names that could be coming. And then Clemson, I mean, this is the Clemson list is enormous. There's injuries. There, like I think 8 starters from the regular season finale will be out. Go look at my opt-out bowl tracker that I update. I went through the entire two deep for Clemson. It's a mess. But Klubnik's going to play. Clemson's won a postseason game in 15 straight years. I think that they'll care. Penn State's staff is also all over the place. Knowles left. Their offensive line coach left. Their who else? Their one of their co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach left to go to Vatek. This game is an absolute mess. I have no idea what to make of it. Like there's still more names to come, so I can't project like who's even going to be playing. Colin, you like Penn State with the points?
I do. Couple things on both sides of the ball. First off, the safety blanket for Cade Klubnik the last 2 years is Antonio Williams. He's declared for the NFL draft, and I know that TJ Moore has like one more target on the season, but Antonio Williams out of the slot has been the safety blanket for Klubnik for 2 years. He's not there. I'm not sure what direction this Clemson offense is going to go. Things have not gone well for Tom Allen. I mean, remember, he used to be at Penn State, so I don't know if there's an axe to grind there with some of these players and Tom Allen from last year. But then again, we don't know who's going to be on this team. But what I do know is that Terry Smith was retained, the interim coach here for Penn State. He was retained by Matt Campbell for next year's staff. I think that was a huge move by Matt Campbell, which means the players on the field for Penn State are motivated because they're going to be playing for Matt Campbell. This is their spring game. We're very early, and Matt Campbell is going to choose on this roster who's going to play. No matter the opt-outs, there's just going to be, I'm expecting plenty of effort from the Penn State side because of that. Now, Katron Allen, if I'm going to bet Penn State, this is a must-have. I mean, with the number of opt-outs on the Clemson defensive front seven, Katron Allen now becomes the forefront of if I'm going to bet Penn State. So that is the linchpin that I'm looking for. Keep tabs on their tackles, Drew Shelton and Nolan Rucci. That offensive line has been the unit that kind of drove them to the college football playoff and the run that they had last year. So if they're missing both of their tackles and they're missing Katron Allen, it's a pass for me. But right now, it looks like they're in shape. They're in line to play. And if they are, Penn State's the one that should be more motivated here.
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up on Clemson, their starting safety Khalil Barnes, he hit the portal. On the defensive line, Capehart declared for the NFL draft. Woods, Parker, their starting linebacker, Woodaz, he's out with an injury. They have a couple offensive linemen that are out with an injury. Their starting tight end's out with an injury. There's Brian Wesco, their starting wide receiver, got hurt earlier this year. Their starting defensive end, Lawson, he's out with an injury. But Klubnik's going to play. Their stud right tackle, Blake Miller, he's probably their only good offensive lineman. He's going to play. Their stud defensive end, Will Held, he's going to play. He's coming back next year. But Dabo said 27 players will miss, so that's a lot. Duck, you got anything here?
I mean, maybe just keep an eye on the weather forecast. It's supposed to be windy on Friday, Sunday, and Monday, the days surrounding the bowl game. Doesn't look like a lot of wind on Saturday, but that could change. We're still a ways out. So could be windy, maybe a little rainy in this one, so that could help matriculate an under.
Field conditions aren't great here in this bowl either. Calabrese, what do you got?
I'm going to go under 48.5. I mean, if Fat Allen doesn't play the full game, I don't really see how Penn State generates much offense in this game. I understand that Clemson is super shorthanded, but this is one thing you can say about Dabo Swinney. Like, I know that his whole shtick can seem hokey, but he at least keeps this team unified. They played hard down the stretch. They won their last 4 to end the regular season. The defense was really kind of kicking ass down the stretch as well. And Tom Allen knows this Penn State team. So I think they have the fundamentals. At least we'll see if that relates to their second string. They finished top 10 in tackling this year. I think they can put this Penn State offense in a box if Fat Allen doesn't have like 150 on the ground. This feels like a 28-10 snoozer to me. Even the weather report I was looking ahead to, like, there's a chance that it could turn into snow. So if it's lousy, choppy conditions, like, there's going to be a turf monster tackle or two if anyone even breaks free. So I think this is a game that both teams in the second half are just going to be looking to see that clock hit quad zeros and just get the hell out of there. So I'll say 28-10 and it goes under.
All right, let's move on to the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. No, it's not the condiment for sushi sponsoring this, or the paste, I should say. This is we always talk about this. It's like a software company, right?
Yeah, software company.
Wasabi Technologies Fenway Bowl. Stupid. This is this. There's some dumb bowl sponsors. This is the stupidest bowl sponsor, or maybe it's not because everyone. Do people look this up, or do they just assume the paste is sponsoring it? I don't know. It's like the avocados. You got the avocados, and then you got the who knows. Saturday, 2:15 Eastern, Boston, Mass between Army and UConn. Interesting line moves in this game. So I have some Army under a touchdown. I took some UConn over 10. Now it's sitting in between because there's been just a ton of news. Number one, this is Service Academy in a bowl game. Always an auto bet right away. 70% against the spread historically. You know they're going to show up. You know there's not going to be opt-outs. I think they're on an 18-2 run against the spread over the past 10 years. Service academies in bowl games. And then you have, on the other side, you don't know if the other team's going to show up. And at first, that's what it looked like with UConn. Their coach is gone, and from what we've seen with teams with their coach is gone and all these guys in the portal is complete disarray. And that's not what you want when you're playing a Service Academy team. Additionally, UConn's run defense is horrendous. I mean, you're talking bottom of the barrel, first percentile stuff rate. I can go on and on. Look at when they played the option off. I mean, they lost to Rice. Like the Rice did whatever they wanted. Anytime they played an option type offense, they got shredded. They cannot stop the run. That's pretty problematic against Army. And then you got all the names. Joe Fagnano, their stud quarterback, he's not playing, which surprises me, but he's not. Maybe he's like a 7th-round draft pick or an undrafted free agent to get some run in the NFL. But I was surprised he didn't play. They could be down to quarterback 4 because Nick Evers, he might go to the portal. And then Skylar Bell, their first-team All-American, he's going to play now. I didn't think there was any shot, but he came out and said he's going to play. Now he's going to try to convince everyone else to play.
Oh, my God.
So I don't know where they stand out mentally because here's who's in the portal for UConn. Their starting right tackle is very good, Karsten Cassidy. He didn't give up any sacks all year. Their starting left tackle, Ben Morawski. I can never pronounce his name. Morawski. Their starting right guard, Brady Wayburn. Their starting right running back, Cam Edwards, but he will play. Their starting cornerback, Cam Chadwick. Their starting linebacker, Diamande. They have a couple other running back depth guys, another corner, all in the portal. Like their entire offensive line, and they cannot stop the run to say this is going to be a bad matchup no matter what. So I don't know. Is Bell going to convince all these guys to play? That throws a wrench into this, which makes it tough. The other thing is they played in this bowl last year. They don't have a coach, so like it makes sense that they wouldn't really care. Army's defense now fully healthy with getting Weaver back, and they have their full defensive interior. I don't know. I mean, I think Army, depending like this screams Army just eventually just pounds them. Duck, you like the under here?
I just don't see a real path to UConn having a lot of success here with the potential opt-outs that guys that they're going to have, possibly 3 starting offensive linemen out, could be down to a 4th-string quarterback. I don't see how they move the ball. Army defensively,
if they had their full complement, they would have thrown all over Army, but they don't.
Would have, yeah, but they don't have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I could see this one being 3 yards in a cloud of dust for Army as well. They're not overly explosive in the run game, but they will have success here against UConn. It might just be where they go on 4 separate 14-play drives that take up 7 minutes each, and they score 28, and they hold Connecticut to 10, and they win the game. They cover all numbers. One thing you know for a fact is that Army is going to show up. They're going to be motivated. They get to play in Fenway. I mean, it's going to be kind of a fun situation for these guys. Such a different situation from Connecticut compared to the situation they were in last year, where they were really motivated to play in this bowl game and play up against UNC. Now, I just don't see why UConn is showing up here to really line up and stick their nose in there and stop the triple option with all these guys that are playing or not playing, or we really don't know what the personnel is going to be. I was encouraged by Skylar Bell saying that he wanted to play. And maybe he convinces some other guys too as well. But I just don't know that UConn is going to be very equipped to do much against Army's defense. And I could see a lot of, you get 2 first downs, then you punt, and then you go back the other way. I think Army eventually the dam will break and they'll end up scoring enough to cover. But I think it's an under, slow burning grind under.
The only thing I worry about is if UConn just completely doesn't show up in that.
And that could be.
And they didn't prepare. By the way, the most points ever scored in a bowl game in the history of bowls.
Army.
Beat
was it Houston? Applewhite
they scored 70.
70-14. That was the biggest margin in a bowl game until Georgia destroyed Florida State by 60. So that when Army just, if you're not prepared or don't want to be there, and you're defending the triple option,
You'll know early.
gets ugly quick. Colin, you like Army to do it at once?
Yeah, Army team total over, and it's sparse trying to find a number out there. We'll get closer to game time here, and you're gonna want to bet it. I mean, a total of 43, a spread of 8. What are we looking at here? Like
26?
Yeah, 26 or something. So anything under 28, I would approve. I mean, this I cannot get out of my brain. The 70 spot that they put on Houston in a bowl with 10 possessions, and a touchdown every time. That's just how Monken rolls. Monken versus an interim staff of UConn. Yes, please. Now, Fagnano's not there. I don't care about that. And Skylar Bell coming back trying to get everybody else to play. Fine. If you want to come back and you want to score fast touchdowns, that's great because I would love Army to have the ball even more. UConn hasn't had many departures on defense, but their defense is an absolute dumpster fire in defending the run. They're dead last in stuff rate. They're below 40% success rate in every single run concept that Army's going to throw at them. Army team total over. I mean, come on, this is a bowl. Every year, same thing. You probably hit repeat last year. David, our producer, could probably put it on from last year. Army's going to get their points. It's a bowl game.
Death taxes and service counties and bowls. I mean, not much else you can say there. But yeah, a lot of news still to parse through with that one.
Just real quick, Stuck. Wasabi, they specialize in disaster recovery and securing backups, at least in the cloud. It could be useful for UConn getting those cloud backups because they're probably going to be on a four-string quarterback. Also, by the way, if you go to their website, one of the first things that pops up is just some of the best word salad I've ever seen. How an Italian MSP ISEO eliminated single point of backup failure. These bowl game sponsors are just fantastic. No one knows what the fuck they're up to.
Well, here's a guy who does know what he's up to, even if he's a little baked. And that's Snoop Dogg. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, 4:30 Eastern on Saturday in Tucson, Arizona, between Miami of Ohio and Fresno State. Tucson, home of the chimichanga, originated there. Get some good Sonoran dogs there as well. But Fresno State 4.5-point favorite here. Total is low, 43-ish. Miami of Ohio, some pretty impactful transfer portal news. Their starting wide receiver, Cam Perio, I believe, among all qualified receivers, led the nation in yards per reception. He's a walking explosive. Just finished below 1,000 yards on the year. He won't play. And then some of their best offensive lineman by far, Drew Terrell, their right tackle, he's in the portal. I don't know if he's going to play yet. And then you got a bunch of other defenders that are in the portal. Defensive end, Adam Trick, he is their best player. Pressure machine. I don't know if he's going to play yet, but he's in the portal. Would assume no. Their starting cornerback, Michael Yarbrough, in the portal. One of their other cornerbacks, Luke Evans, in the portal. Maybe others come. It'd be really bad if Blakey and Walters, their safeties, are their heart and soul of their defense, opt out. I'd guess they'll play, but don't know. Then you have the quarterback situation. They turned to Tommy Gutkowski, but then he got benched in the MAC title game for Henry Hessen, who's just bad. What do they do at quarterback? I assume they go with the freshman, but we'll see. Fresno State, not much news. I think they'll probably be excited to be here. First time head coach. I will say Miami of Ohio got destroyed in the MAC title game last year and then did show up in their bowl game out west and waxed. Who was it? Georgia Southern or somebody?
Colorado State, right?
Colorado State, you're right. I think it was like 43-17 or something around there. They destroyed Colorado State. So they were ready for that game, but these opt-outs are pretty big. Now, Fresno State, they also have quarterback issues. They had E.J. Warner, then they went to the freshman who was bad, and they went back to Warner. I assume they go back there. They stick with Warner. They went with at the end of the year. It's not a team I'm terribly interested in laying points with. Like their offense is one of the least enjoyable times I've had. I will watch college football from noon until 3 a.m. I watch every game until it's all over. And the least amount of fun I had all year was Fresno State games at late night. Watching some of the Fresno State Wyoming game was probably the worst game I've ever watched in my life. So it's not a team I'm dying to lay points with, but from an opt-out perspective from Miami of Ohio, like the impact guys that they have out are major. And I do think Fresno will care here. So I lean Fresno. Duck, you agree? You lean Fresno as well?
I do. So many key pieces of Miami of Ohio opting out. The stud receiver that you had already mentioned, Cam Perry, so explosive. Just an elite mismatch nightmare in the MAC. Not going to play. Running back's been hurt most of the season, and he is a key piece. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Linebacker Corbin Hondrew also may not
Big.
go. He was hurt, and I don't know if they rush him back here.
They missed
And I
him
just
against Western Michigan big time.
Yeah, and I just wonder how this defense is going to look with all these key guys along the defensive line and at linebacker if they're out, if they're not showing up. And now Fresno State's going to line up. They're going to throw multiple tight end sets at you. They've got 3 or 4 capable running backs who can run on you. I just don't know how this is going to go. I don't want to make a habit of fading Chuck Martin in bowl games, but this is one where the offensive personnel could be really, really up against it against Fresno's defense, which yeah, they did wear down a little bit at the end of the season, but now with almost a month off to heal up and scheme it up against the Redhawks, who were just unequipped offensively to do much, we saw that play out in the MAC title game. I think it's a similar output here. So low scoring game, probably a kind of a boring visual watch, but I do lean Fresno.
This game, I'm not. What's that? 4:30. We got Army at 2:15.
CW.
We have Georgia Tech BYU at 3:30. All right. Yeah, I mean, this game was in a island spot. This game's going to be. It's not going to be pretty. Colin, you like Miami? Are you going? I'm trying to think what your case will be here. If I had a guess, knowing you, after all these years,
What do you think?
you're definitely going to mention Miami. They will have a special teams advantage.
Yep. Big time.
So why do you like the Red Hawks?
It's not just a special teams advantage. They are 11th in SP plus special teams to Fresno State 71st, but it's also the fact that EJ Warner was absolutely terrible this season. He doubled his turnover worthy play rate compared to.
He is a walking turnover.
Yeah, he's a walking turnover, and Miami of Ohio was top 10 in creating a contested catch per Sports Info Solutions. So, I mean, they should get their hands on everything that Warner throws, whatever window it's in. They're going to be able to swat it away. So, from that perspective, I like Miami of Ohio. Cam Perry opting out, I don't. And really, I made all my notes to say I like Miami of Ohio just because I think their defense is going to be able to show up, and I like Chuck Martin and Bulls. But the more I look at this, it probably should be an under, right? I mean, if Miami of Ohio is so good at swatting things in the secondary and EJ Warner's a walking turnover and Gotkowski and Hessen can't do anything on offense, I really should just switch my play and say this is really an under. And we're above the number of 41, which is the biggest key. One of the biggest, that and 55 being the biggest keys. And I make this 43.7, but that's when they have their full army of players. So I think I'm going to pivot here. Miami of Ohio, maybe. I think it's one of those things where you let it steam out, and probably the last number is good on Miami of Ohio, but I think the under is probably the better play.
All right, Colin talking himself out of a play on the podcast.
Well, I'm not going to bet it now. I mean, obviously it's going to steam, right?
Here's why I like Miami of Ohio. And then he went, and then by the time he was done, he said, you know what? I actually don't. Let's pivot to the under.
They screwed me in the MAC championship. The MAC championship.
Very persuasive argument on Miami of Ohio. Maybe it's just the under. All right.
The gin and juice bowl. I can switch my stance 8 times.
All right, let's move on to this game. This is one of the better bowl games.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech BYU in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, 3:30 Eastern in Orlando, Florida. Georgia Tech 5-ish point underdogs. Brent Key is an underdog, always looks intriguing to me. Potential opt-outs for Georgia Tech. Keelan Rutledge, their stud right guard. It sounds like he's going to play, though. It sounds like Eric Rivers, their wide receiver, is going to play. It sounds like Haynes King's going to play, and Jamal Haynes. One of their interior offensive linemen is out. One of their depth linebacker pieces is out. They've had some secondary injuries. BYU, it sounds like everyone's going to play, including Bachmeyer, who's dealing with an ankle injury. So, this is a game where it's like 2 pretty good teams, and everyone's going to play. Although Buster Faulkner left. How big of a loss is that? We'll see. It looks like Chris Winkie will take over duties for the bowl games, but Faulkner went to Florida. Great hire there. We have a group of a G5 fight. Play a little fight sound bite if you got one, David. Duck likes BYU. Calabrese likes Georgia Tech. Battle it out. Who wants to go first?
It's all yours, Duck. Lay it on me.
Very underrated bowl game, and I do expect both these teams to show up. It's going to be nice that both these two are going to be fairly fully equipped in this one. A couple questions on Georgia Tech defensive players and if they're going to have a full arsenal of starters at all three levels of the defense. And with BYU, these guys are showing up. It sounds like Kalani Sitake has rallied the troops. I've been very impressed with BYU this season. They've proven me wrong time and time again. Sounds like Bear Bachmeier's going to give it a go. Sounds like LJ Martin's going to give it a go. And I just worry for Georgia Tech if BYU just lines up and runs the football here, and there's not much that Georgia Tech's defense is going to be able to do about it. 88th in overall defensive success rate. Georgia Tech was 70th in rush success rate allowed, 77th in allowing explosives, and just 106th in havoc registered for Georgia Tech. This unit produced 26 sacks this year, but half of them came in 2 games against Pitt and Gardner-Webb. So I don't think we'll see a pass rush that'll rattle Bear Bachmeier when he has to drop back and throw the ball. I look at BYU's only 2 losses were against Texas Tech. They were outmatched. They were not at that level of football, but they took care of business against everybody else. And Georgia Tech just defensively went through long stretches this year against weaker ACC foes, and they could not get off the field. They could not get havoc. They could not stop teams like Boston College. I mean, Wake Forest, it looked really, really bad defensively for Georgia Tech. The wild card here, I wonder how the offense will differentiate in this bowl game compared to what we've seen all season with Buster Faulkner not there. They're going to go to Chris Winkie to call plays, and I just wonder what that's going to look like if this Georgia Tech team is going to mirror what we saw most of the way this season, or if they're going to be trying to kind of scramble on the fly offensively. So I feel like maybe BYU can bully these guys around here, line up big on big, run the ball, and there's not much that Georgia Tech's going to be able to do to stop it.
All right. I mean, let's look at some recent history. How'd they do against Georgia? Those are some big boys. They held them to 16 points, 3 points in the second half, got off the field 8 times on third downs, showed a lot of fight. And this is a classic situation where you get the Rambo and Wreck as a dog because their style play, at least we get Haynes King healthy. He's the gritty kind of playmaker that picks up all the dirty yards on third and short, everything inside the 10. I love him as a dog. And like, obviously you look at Key as an interim head coach, he had 2 outright upsets against ranked opponents. Since taking over as the head coach in the ATL, 13-5 against the spread as a dog, 9-9 straight up as a dog. He always has them in these games with a chance to win. They handled pressure situations so well this year. They beat Clemson by 3, overtime win against Wake, a late rushing touchdown to knock off Colorado. I think this really comes down to, is Bear Bachmeier healthy? Because the word on the street was he was in a walking boot at some point, between the end of the season where he is now. If his ankle isn't 100%, when you look behind him, they didn't prep anybody this year. Their quarterbacks behind Bachmeier had a total of 7 pass attempts the entire season, which is a bit of a head scratcher because they had some blowout victories. They had an opportunity to give some people some run. They didn't do it. And then LJ Martin, like the original opt-outs were all star running backs who are ready to go to the NFL. The Fournettes, the Christian McCaffreys, all those situations. This kid has got nothing to prove. Just go ahead and shut it down. Get ready for the NFL draft and the combine, the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Like, if he does not play this full game, I think BYU becomes a lot more susceptible to losing this one outright. And anytime I'm catching points with Key, I'm going to take it. I'm obviously banking on the full backfield for Georgia Tech playing in this game, but all indications as of right now are that they are. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it in at 5. I may have to unwind that bet and, basically take the other side and take a loss if I don't get the quarterback in this matchup. But as of right now with a full deck, I want Georgia Tech.
Colin, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I have a lot. I actually have more than what you would expect. I already know who is going to be the dark horse Heisman bet that everybody's going to love in June and July next year. His name is going to be Aaron Philo, who has already hit the transfer portal. He was insanely good last year. I know the numbers say 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, but he had 7 big-time throws, 1 turnover-worthy play. I wonder if Buster Faulkner making his way to Florida is where Aaron Philo is going to go. So I would just like to get ahead of the steam and all the talking heads and the BSers out there. I bet you if he ends up at a Power 4, big-time Power 4 program, he is the 200, 300 to 1 Heisman that people are going to talk about. As for this game, I like the over. I don't see either defense. You hear Duck and Calabrese going at it. I didn't hear a lot about how great the defenses are. The Georgia Tech defense is stopping methodicals from Bear Bachmeyer and LJ Martin. I don't think so. BYU's fourth in quality drives. Georgia Tech's D is 88th in allowing methodicals. No havoc expected from the Jackets. They don't play behind the line of scrimmage. They don't strip the ball away, and BYU's top 20 in havoc allowed. So they're going to get down the field and they're going to get into scoring position. And even though Buster Faulkner's not there, Haynes King and Jamal Haynes are going to go all counter and power. BYU can't defend counter and power. They're below mid FBS average in success rate in defending those run concepts. Both teams, major advantages in standard down success rate. Both defenses, trouble in defending in standard downs. And by the way, both offenses, top 12 in red zone scoring. Over.
By the way, if you're in Orlando for this bowl, check out Stagger Inn, our sister bar in Orlando. And then find you some Vietnamese, some good Vietnamese.
Wait, what's your favorite Pop-Tart? I'm classic strawberry.
I'm not a Pop-Tarts guy, but if I had to, I'm like an old man. By the way, look at this. This is what I'm going to have next. What I'm going to eat for lunch. This is what I get for Christmas because I'm an old man now. Tuna belly. I get tinned fish. There's another box. We got.
Is that baseball cards?
We got nope. Smoked trout with chimichurri. We got mackerel, salmon, sardines, albacore tuna. So
I'll text you. I'll text you. I want my family to start giving me that. That looks good.
It's amazing. Chocolate.
This is the one right here. Pumpkin pie.
Oh, get that shit out of here. What is that?
This flavor is incredible. It's frosted pumpkin pie. It doesn't taste like pumpkin spice. It tastes like you're actually having pumpkin pie with whipped cream on top of it.
Isn't s'mores one too? I think I like that.
Yeah, s'mores is really good as well. I won't, look down on anybody who picks s'mores.
I haven't had a Pop-Tart in a long time.
Quick story. My son's moving into the dorm in August. I said, let's go to Target. You can get anything you want. He takes his hand like this, slides it into the Pop-Tarts aisle, and rakes 12 Wildberry boxes into the cart.
Wildberry. What's the classic?
Pop-Tarts.
Classic strawberry?
Classic strawberry is frosted strawberry is the best. Yeah.
Duck, do you got any Pop-Tarts takes?
I haven't had a Pop-Tart in 30 years, so I don't have a take.
Same. I think I haven't had one since I was a kid. Okay. That's enough for Pop-Tart talk. Let's move on to the Isleta New Mexico Bowl, Saturday, 5:45 Eastern in Albuquerque. Underrated food city. San Diego State, yes. North Texas. North Texas, 3.5 point favorite here over San Diego State, total 54. North Texas transfer portal, their stud quarterback, Drew Mestamaker. Their head coach, Eric Morris, took the job at Oklahoma State. He won't be with the team for the bowl. I imagine they're going to have some opt-outs. I haven't heard anything officially yet. But I imagine a bunch of North Texas guys goes to Oklahoma State because they would start right away and they'd be better than whatever product Oklahoma State was throwing out this season. Neil Brown, by the way, Collin, your boy, he'll be the next head coach in Denton. You can already see the North Texas futures
coming in the app here in April. Yeah.
So their special teams coach, Drew Sabota, will serve as the interim coach for the bowl game. And the rest of the staff is expected to stay on for the game, sans Morris. San Diego State, they got a couple defensive ends in the portal. Their potential opt-outs, I imagine Chris Johnson sits out, which would be big. He's probably the best cornerback in all of Group of Five. Maybe their linebacker, Owen Chambliss, their defensive end, Trey White, maybe they follow their defensive coordinator to Nebraska. I could see that. He did a tremendous job. Both of those guys are all Mountain West, by the way. But Robert Arch was hired by Nebraska to be the defensive coordinator there. The big news for San Diego State is Jaden Denigal had surgery. He will not play their starting quarterback. They also lost a couple wide receivers, including their best in Jordan Napier, to season-ending injuries. So Bert Emanuel, an old friend of the pod, will start at quarterback. A lot of uncertainty in this, but San Diego State's defense, assuming they're not too short-handed, assuming a Mestamaker doesn't play, which I don't think he will, they're the most reliable unit in this game. Running dog. Give me Emmanuel running around. Give me the points with the Aztecs. Colin, you agree?
Yeah, 100%. By the way, Neil Brown coming in. Love it. You can bet on North Texas. At Big 12 Media Days in 2023, West Virginia was picked last. Neil Brown came over to the side. I said, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, and your win total in Vegas is 4.5. I said, I think you guys are going to win 8. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay. And then next year I go to Big 12 Media Days and he looks at me and doesn't say anything. And Neil Brown goes, we won 9. So I love Neil Brown. He's going to be the great North Texas. I love San Diego State in this game. Eric Morris takes the Oklahoma State job. You have to wonder if Drew Mestamaker and some of these offensive players, Caleb Hawkins, Wyatt Young, Miles Coleman, these are the leaders of this team, essentially represent the entire offense of North Texas. Are they on their way out, and are they on their way up to Stillwater? I think the answer is yes. Will the remaining roster be handpicked by Neil Brown? I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. Like, if you have a depleted roster and you're in a bowl game, this is your spring game. This is your preview to a spring game, period. You are already competing for a job. Now, Bert Emanuel Jr., our fire up chips, our Tuesday night hero from snow games and everything else is going to take over quarterback. But what that means for Sean Lewis's offense, which, by the way, hasn't been very fast, 29 seconds per play. It's very un-Aztec fast. Heavy rush attack expected against a North Texas defense that's 111th in defensive rushing success rate. Bert Emanuel Jr. should have lots of gaps to run through here. The San Diego State offensive line, from what I've seen, remains completely intact. They're 17th in line yards, and North Texas 124th in defensive line yards. At the very least, San Diego State is pushing this pile and getting into scoring opportunities against what should be a roster that's all competing for Coach Brown next spring. So, yeah, give me the Aztecs upset outright.
By the way, producer says underrated best Albuquerque food spots. He's a local New Mexican.
Doghouse, where
Front-
Jesse Pinkman did all his drug deals. It's actually great hot dogs, chili dogs, everything.
Also, Frontier Restaurant, Dion's, Ruby's are his recs. David, do you do red, green, or Christmas for your chili? I don't know. He'll answer me. By the way, also Orlando.
It looks like he's a Hatch green guy.
He's
like
a
green
green,
guy.
yeah.
I'm a Christmas guy. Orlando, Cuban. If you like Cuban food, Columbia Restaurant. It's probably the best restaurant in Orlando. Related to the Hatch family. There you go. We got G5 agreement here on the total. Calabrese, you want to? Well, I feel like we haven't heard from Duck in a couple minutes. Duck, you want to make a case for the under?
Yeah, I mean, just slow-paced game from San Diego State. Tons of running. We're not going to get the deep shots from the Aztecs as we saw most of the way, as Donegal's not going to play here. So Bert Emanuel, it's going to be almost all exclusively run here. Without Jordan Napier and Jacob Bostic, I don't see much in the passing game for San Diego State. So many injuries or opt-outs for North Texas. Mestmaker's no-go. Caleb Hawkins, 1,236 rushing yards, 23 rushing touchdowns. Left the conference championship game and did not return. I'll be stunned if he plays in this one for North Texas. Wyatt Young, Miles Coleman, Simon Evans, 3 stud receivers, likely a no-go. And they're going to be turning to Reese Poffenbarger at quarterback. Decent player at Albany, but he's not going to line up and light these guys on fire. You look at San Diego State's nasty defense. 5th nationally in yards per play, 1st in yards per pass allowed in the entire country, 2nd in surrendering explosives, and 2nd best in red zone efficiency. I think this San Diego State defense shows up. I think this is just one of these games that this total just never gets approached. I don't think we're going to see the pace. We've got the orchestrator of the fast, high-tempo offense for North Texas no longer there. I think their offense will look a lot different without all their key players. And San Diego State will run the ball and control the clock and win this game. Let's call it 27-21. Stays under. San Diego State wins outright.
Anything to add, Calabrese?
Yeah, I like the under as well, but a shout out to Poffenbarger, who got absolutely screwed. He signed at Miami, and then like 48 hours later, they signed Cam Ward, so he sits there. He gets recruited really hard by, Morris and the staff. Come in, you're going to have a real chance to win this. I was following the quarterback derby the entire summer. He loses in like a 55-45 kind of vote, and then has to sit the bench and watch Mestamaker this whole year. But I agree with Duck. If I could lose Mestamaker or I could lose Hawkins, I would prefer to lose Mestamaker. I think that's how important Hawkins is to this offense. Without him playing, they're just not going to be as explosive and reliable, particularly against San Diego State defense. Even if they only have 8 starters, I still think they're an elite G5 defense. So I think they're going to shut them down. And their run rate that was already top 10, I think they were 9th in the country, the Aztecs, that'll slide closer to like a 70% run rate in this game with Okamo Emmanuel running essentially wildcat quarterback. So under here all the way, first half and full game.
Yeah, Emmanuel can't complete a forward pass. But you can run on North Texas. Maybe it's a coming out party for Poffenberger. It was for Mestamaker in the bowl game last year.
Yeah.
When Morris sat out. So maybe it's the natural way of life now in Denton. All right, let's move on to the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, 7:30 Eastern in Jacksonville between Virginia and Missouri. This line has come down a bit on the news. of Missouri starting quarterback Bo Pribula will transfer. That means Matty Zollers will get the start. He did start 3 games during the season. Missouri's also going to be really thin at wide receiver because you got Manning hit the portal, Johnson hit the portal. Um, who else is for Missouri? I mean, they have some other potential opt-outs. Their left tackle, Caden Green, their right tackle, Keegan Tross, their center, Tollison, a couple of their defensive ends, Young and Wilson are studs. McClellan in the middle, Catalan, Coleman. I don't know. It sounds like Drinkwitz said he expects minimal opt-outs, but he said that before uh, Beulah announced. So we'll see. Also, they're starting tight end, Brett Norfleet. He's good. He's out. They're starting linebacker, Josiah Trotter. He's hurt. He won't play. Virginia, they're starting cornerback, Prevard. He hit the portal. Trell Harris got hurt in the ACC title game. I have not seen one update. They kept saying they were waiting on imaging because there was snow and he couldn't get there. It's been like 3 weeks. I don't know. He's really good and important. It sounds like most of the other guys are going to play, but you never know. There could be a ton of opt-outs. Colin, you like Missouri here?
I do, but it's Ahmad Hardy related, and I think
Hardy props if he plays.
Yeah,
he's gone nuts.
Is this a Fannin type thing? Is this a Harold Fannin type?
Yeah, but there's no
prop?
record to go after. But you want to run on Virginia. That's how you want to attack them. So I think that's how I'll might attack this game, just for some Hardy props, some Hardy alts for some fun.
I think you misread Drink when he said minimal opt-outs. I think he just considered Pribula to be minimal. That's all. I think that's what you missed out on. Listen, Zoller is nothing special here. Completed just 50% of his passes. One big-time throw against A&M, one turnover-worthy play against Vanderbilt. That's the record that we have to go off of. I mean, he looks at least a little bit poised, and he looks like he can throw a ball. He looks like he's practiced a lot. That's about it. That's all I got to say. This is really about Ahmad Hardy. Against a Virginia defense, it's 83rd in stuff rate and 61st in line yards. Guess who's controlling the line of scrimmage here? It's going to be Missouri, and they're 21st in rush explosives. Virginia has shown some resistance to rush explosives. They've also played the 82nd toughest strength of schedule in the nation. I just don't see anything about Virginia holding this up. Hardy had 24 explosive runs of 15 yards or more. A lot of that tailed off towards the end of the year. He got a little bit of a bye week, came back, just played with his hair on fire. Again, this is about Ahmad Hardy. And so I apologize to everybody out there. Like, where's the play? Why didn't you put it in the app? 90 minutes before kickoff, birds in the air, watching the field. Is Ahmad Hardy suited up in practice gear? That's when the bet goes in.
Although that doesn't even guarantee he'll play, but
that's true. We've had that problem too. Yeah.
I mean, Sutton Smith, their Memphis' leading rusher, suited up. The school official says he's going to play.
Wait.
Coach says he's going to play and just never gets in the game.
Can we officially on the offseason work on a Doug Brumfield sound drop? Like that guy suited up for every UNLV game and then never played. Like Brumfield's on the field, didn't play.
Well, that was the best was Byron Brown last year on Christmas Eve, the Byron Brown decoy game.
Yep.
Now Hardy should run wild here. Also, you have to question somewhat Virginia's motivation. Like they were an overtime away from going to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Are they fully locked in here during bowl season? Calabrese, you agree with Colin?
Yeah, I'm on Mizzou here. I was trying to look up real quick. I think it was Brad Smith had the rushing TD record in a bowl game for Mizzou, 3 rushing touchdowns against South Carolina in the 05 Independence Bowl. That's on the table here. If Hardy plays, give me 200 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Let's try to hit these props as hard as we can. This is also the Thomas Jefferson Bowl, by the way, designed Virginia's campus, and then Mizzou ripped it off in terms of their design. I'm going to stick with a tried and true strategy that I usually do throughout bowl season. It's been a little bit more difficult because there's been head-to-heads out of this exact situation, but I like to fade teams coming off a conference title game loss. Also, it was an extra painful loss for Virginia because they would have gone to the playoff. You got potentially 5 key starters out for the Cavs. I think in terms of just like the best player outside of the college football playoff, it is Hardy. I have him. I think Zollers, you can look at, his limited body of work. He was awful against A&M, but then they got him into the right kind of game manager role against Mississippi State, and then they just fed Hardy. he's somebody who we don't really know who he's going to be. He's a four-star kid coming out of the state of Pennsylvania. He's like potentially the future quarterback. I could see all these bowl practices and him being the guy leading up being beneficial. I don't need him to ball out in this game. I just need him to not turn the ball over. The other piece of it is, Kirby Moore is not going to be calling plays here. It's probably going to be Drink, but he's been an OC play caller before, so that doesn't necessarily concern me. I'll lay the 4 here with the Tigers. I think Hardy just goes berserk in this game. Potentially high scoring if you get, all the Virginia pieces back, including the quarterback, but I think I would prefer to have the most reliable elements in really all bowl season outside of the college football playoff, and that's Hardy.
Duck, anything to add?
I mean, are all the Missouri offensive linemen showing up? That's a real key piece too, is how many of those guys are going to play? Who's going to play for Virginia? I know Elliott talked about going out and winning 11 games for the first time in school history. So there is a little motivation there, but I don't know if it'll be enough here. And I
Do you
kind
think
of
that
agree with
the Virginia left tackles, we got to win 11 games?
Right.
I can't imagine so. I'll be pissed if they show up here and destroy this team and they couldn't do it against Duke.
Oh, yeah.
Well, come on, guys. Wait, guys.
We got to fade them
Like,
for you.
Guys, half of their schedule below 50% post-game win expectancy and one all that. Come on, guys. The smoke and mirrors, the voodoo, it's done.
Colin finally is accepting.
I just rode the train. We've never done that on this podcast in almost a decade stuck where we know a team is a fraud and we decide just to ride it. Have we ever thought about doing that? Well, I did that with Virginia this year, and I have to admit, now that I've got a taste of that drug, it's kind of fun to back frauds when they keep winning.
Well, you might as well just keep that in Alabama. All right, let's move on to the Houston LSU game, the Kinder's Texas Bowl, 9:15 Eastern in Houston. Houston will play in Houston. I thought this was the Kinder's Egg sponsoring this. It's this seasoning, I think. LSU 2.5-point dog here. I think you're going to get more news on LSU, but their stud cornerback probably maybe the first cornerback, Delane taken off the board. He is out. I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Halsey, is he going to play? Peyton, Pyburn. You got a couple of the receivers for LSU that are worth watching. Weeks will not play with an injury. Nussmeier's obviously not going to play, so it's going to be Van Buren starting again. There's a lot still to watch with LSU. Houston, their starting center left the program, no longer on the roster. Guys to watch their Walls, their defensive end, their tight end, Koziel, their running back, Connors. Weigman's coming back next year. It still has a year of eligibility somehow, so he'll play. I don't know. This is a tough game for me because I remember last year I had Baylor against LSU. LSU had a ton of opt-outs, but still took care of them. They still have talent on the roster. This game's tough for me. This is probably I had the least conviction of any bowl game on this particular matchup as of right now, especially because there's still probably much, much more news coming. Let's see. Calabrese, you don't like anything here. Colin, you rolling with the Cougs?
I like the Cougars because of the dynamics that are happening at LSU. Listen, Frank Wilson has been the interim coach here, banging the drum, one heartbeat, and now that one heartbeat is moving to Oxford. He is going to be a part of the staff at Ole Miss. And frankly, and this is true. I mean, you can backtrack me here in about 2 months. I mean, half of this roster for LSU is going to be playing for Ole Miss, and half of Ole Miss's roster is going to be playing for LSU. And where does this bowl game fall in the list of priorities for a bunch of guys that are set to hit the portal? They're going to sit out this game. I think there's more names are going to sit out than we can even imagine. Even guys in the 2 deep, they're going to sit out and going to go to Ole Miss because they're not going to be invited by Lane to play. Look, Connor Weigman's going to face an LSU secondary. It's already down Mansour Delane. Who else is going to? I mean, AJ Halsey, Harold Perkins. The amount of names that I think that are not going to play in this bowl, I think, is extensive. Not even the biggest names. I even think the 2 deep is going to get hit here. Whit Weeks is not going to play till his father-in-law is fully in charge. Michael Van Buren had nearly twice as many turnover-worthy plays as big-time throws. 3 turnover-worthy plays against Western Kentucky's secondary. LSU starting quarterback had 3 turnover-worthy plays against Western Kentucky's secondary. Sorry, I'm not betting LSU. I can't do it. So, Houston. Oh, by the way, Houston's D is the best in FBS against rush explosives. How the hell is LSU going to get down the field? I have no clue. Houston.
Duck, you got to look at the total.
Yeah, under LSU and Houston both operate slow pace offensively. Going to really struggle to move the ball. by garnering explosive plays. It's just not going to happen here. LSU 134th in explosive play rate, 122nd in explosive rushes, and 112th in havoc allowed here. So defensive lines could control the kind of the terms on this one. LSU really struggled to run the ball. Not really going to be a ton here to go on. And now you have Nussmeier, who's not going to play. Questions on if the top two receivers are going to play or not. LSU's offensive output the last 4 weeks of the season, 13, 13, 23, and 9 points. And this team cannot score touchdowns in the red zone. One of the worst teams in the country in red zone efficiency, less than 50% touchdown rate. Now you're lining up against Houston's defense that actually did do pretty well a good majority of the season in stopping the run, limiting explosives. Houston's red zone D as well. 38 red zone trips, only 17 touchdowns allowed. A lot of empty red zone trips, a lot of field goal attempts from these guys. And if you don't have Kozoil, if you don't have Connors at running back, going to be big losses for Houston's offensive punch. I think this could be a fun game. It's going to be one where it's truly a 10-yard war, but I don't think we're going to see a ton of points here. So I'm diving under 41.5.
I can see that. All right. There are 8 college football bowl games on Saturday. And if you need a way to watch them, let me tell you about Sling TV. With Sling TV, you can take control with flexible package options of 1, 3, and 7-day passes for access to 30 plus live channels, which include ESPN and TNT. So that covers you for all 11 of the college football playoff games and more. Sling TV will also be a great option for some huge upcoming NFL games as well. So with that, let's put together a Saturday all-day parlay. You can hang out on the couch all day Saturday, watch the games, and sweat this out with us. We will each give one pick. I'll kick things off. I'm going to go with the anchor, the easy way out. Army money line, Service Academy in a bowl. They get it done. Collin, what are you throwing in?
All right, let's take a dog. Let's get San Diego State in there. Everybody for North Texas is gone. I don't think Drew Mestermaker is going to play. That defense is going to rock for SDSU, and Bert Emanuel Jr. is going to run against one of the worst rush defenses in the nation, which is North Texas. Give me the Aztecs.
And Doc, you're staying in that game?
Yeah, we'll go under. San Diego State's defense will control the terms. It'll be a ton of rushing, quick moving clock. San Diego State will win. The game will stay under.
And what do you got, Calabrese?
Mizzou laying the points. Ahmad Hardy goes from the Heisman winner in September to a bowl legend here in December.
So we got Army money line, San Diego State money line, North Texas, San Diego State under, and Missouri laying the points. Pays plus 943 at DraftKings. So, with so many great games on the slate, Sling TV is your solution to instant access to live TV starting as low as $4.99. There isn't a better time to acquaint yourself with 1, 3, and 7-day passes from Sling TV. Offer applies to Orange 1-day pass. Restrictions apply. Make sure you check out Sling. All right, before we get out of here, we do have one other game, and then we'll get to our DraftKings parlay, which is our favorite bet from any of these games that we covered. App State, Georgia Southern in the J-Jab Birmingham Bowl. Is that what it's called?
I think I had a former family member that works there. Yeah. Is it a research?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit and independent. Yeah. And I think it's in Los Alamos.
It's J Lab, not J Jab.
I was going to say this makes no sense. Right? Thanks to our producer who put in J Jab.
This is why Whataburger is not better than In-N-Out, David.
Yep, you just lost the argument, David. All right. He said, "I will mute you again," to Collin. Let me look at this line because this line has been on the move. Well, it's
7.5.
7.5. App State's the favorite. Total 59.5. All right, that's looks like Georgia Southern sitting on a 7.5 point favorite. They've taken money because App State, that's some news. Their quarterback, they had 2 quarterbacks this year, AJ Swan and JJ Cole. They both hit the portal. Who's going to go? Noah Gillen or senior Billy Wiles? He's still around. He was at Clemson.
Billy Wiles giving me awful Southern Miss offense flashbacks. Like I have PTSD. No, thank you.
Oh my God. They're starting safety and leading tacklers out. They're starting wide receiver. Dozier hit the portal. They're starting corner. McCantos hit the portal. One of their linebackers, their defensive ends. App State, this is not good vibes. Georgia Southern, Arnold, their running back, who's a stud. He missed the finale with an injury. So did their stud wide receiver, Cobb. I mean, This is a rematch. This is a conference game. This is a rematch. Deeper than hate, by the way. Georgia Southern won 25-23. Do I want to lay 7.5 at Georgia Southern? Not really. I mean, their defense is so bad, but it seems like App State, the players don't want to be here, and they're not going to. Billy Wiles might be the quarterback. I don't know. I don't know. Anyone have anything on this game? I don't. No one wrote. So we put the games down, and then everyone puts what they like or want to talk about. No one put anything in here. So Collin put pass. Calabrese put pass. I got nothing. Duck said pass. Too many unknowns. Who was laying 7.5 with Gata? Anyone have anything here?
It's a parlay piece. It's a Georgia Southern parlay piece. You're not going to go with App State. I think I successfully didn't bet them the entire season. OJ Arnold could still go in this game. That would give credit to the steam. I make this number one if it was played with all the players involved. But I mean, App State's missing everybody. App State was stuffed on half of their rushing attempts against Georgia Southern earlier this season. That's amazing. Listen to this. I just cannot believe this about this game. App State was stuffed on half of their rushing attempts against Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern is 134th in defensive rushing success rate. That is how bad App State is. Georgia Southern is a parlay piece, no matter if OJ Arnold's playing or not.
All right, there you have it. We do have one final.
Fun things about this one, though. This will be the first time that Deeper Than Hate will be played in the postseason since the FCS or Division I AA playoff matchups. First time this rivalry will be played outside of Statesboro or Boone since these two teams have established this rivalry. Interesting. Georgia Southern won the first meeting at Appy on November 6th. Yeah, I think Collin should take a minute and talk about how he does like the play calling creativity of Dowell Loggins. I know he talked about that in the preseason.
All right, we'll say that for next podcast. All right, we do have one final order of business. It's our favorite bet in our DraftKings parlay. Each of us gives one piece from any of the games we talked about on today's episode. Collin, what do you got?
I got Florida International, obviously, right? Because UTSA is not going to show up whatsoever. Just listen to what Jeff Traylor is saying. Things are not good in San Antonio. Keon Jenkins will play, should be healthy, and rush explosives are the difference here against that UTSA defense.
I'm going to throw in New Mexico plus the points. Don't go money line. Lower scoring game. Could see one of these teams going for 2 at the end. So I still value the points, even though now it's under 3. So I'm going to throw in New Mexico, who I think will be able to move the ball. Minnesota, more opt-out risk. In Equitrust. So we got FIU money line, New Mexico plus the points. Duck, what are you throwing in?
We'll do Army UConn under 43.5. Army will dominate the time of possession. They'll have a 2-to-1 play run ratio. They will run the ball a ton here, and UConn's not going to be able to do much to stop it. And I don't think UConn will be equipped to score a bunch of points here. So I like the full game under 43.5.
Calabrese?
FIU, UTSA over 59.5. The UTSA defense has been decimated. It's like college orientation. Who are you? Can we get name tags? I've never been in the same room with you the whole season. Both of these teams are capable of going over 40 on their own. I'll go over 59.5.
All right, there you have it. FIU money line, New Mexico plus the points, UConn Army under, and FIU UTSA over pays plus 1889 at DraftKings. We'll drop a link in the podcast and YouTube description. We'll also be tweeting it out. Go use that link to instantly and add it to your bet slip at DraftKings, and let's bring it home. The crown is yours. All right, that'll do it. 12 bowl games through next Monday. That's part 3. Part 4 of our bowl season preview. We will be recording on Friday, another live show on Saturday, and part 5 next Monday. Thank you to Duck, Mike, and Collin for joining me. Thanks to our producer, David, on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a 5-star review if you have a second, or if you won any money from any of our bets this weekend. Really helps us out. Let's keep it rolling in bowl season. And also, one final plug. If you want to tell some of the bets we discussed today, for the quick slip link in the video and podcast description, or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. Thanks again for tuning in. Good luck for the rest of the bowl season. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.